A very big hello to all of you. So today now we are going to discuss instruments. I mean to say here because we have already discussed many instruments chapter wise. What I mean to discuss here is mainly the surgical ones. Okay. So I've got a lot of requests that ma'am, ek baar surgical instruments also please discuss. So let's go for this. Before I start with discussing these surgical instruments, let me tell you how I am going to proceed. I don't want to make you mug up things here. It's more of a common sense. If you know the steps of a cataract surgery, if you know how to manage a chalazion, right? What is a bone punch, etc., right? So we'll just go have a look at it. We should know how to recognize it. We should know applications, at least one or two of that instrument. Okay, where are we using it, right? And I'm going to show you some clinical slides that, okay, this is the way we use this instrument. And the interesting part is at the end of my discussion through the slide, now we'll be coming to the real ones. And with my instrument tray in front of you, now I'm going to ask you what this instrument is and you have to guess it for me, right? So this part I have left at the end as a means of very quick revision for the instruments. It is going to be very helpful for you all this way. Okay, we start with first is chalazion clamp. We all know when you are clamping, it is mainly for hemostasis and very easily you can go for incision and curettage, right? So as you can see, one is the solid surface and one is your ring, right? So naturally the ring has to be on the lesion. Have a look here. So the ring is at the lesion like this and the solid part will be on the skin side. And this way, and I think everybody knows this is exam question that we always make a vertical incision. Why? Because we don't want to damage the ducts of the meibomian glands, right? So this is a chalazion clamp mainly for hemostasis, incision and curettage. And of course, if you have to give an intralesional injection of triamcinolone acetate, we are going to use it. Okay? Of course, this is the screw and how we are tightening it. These are the serrations for the hole. This much you should. Next we talk about is, of course, once you have made the incision, the granulation tissue has to be scooped out. So this is the chalazion scoop, right? With a cup here through which you can scoop out the granulation tissue. So here it is, we are scooping it out. This is the clamp, right? And this is the chalazion scoop. Hope this is clear to you all. Okay, and after scooping, one more very important step. Wall of the cyst, you should cut it. Otherwise, the recurrence is more, okay? It will recur. Then we talk about the different types of speculums. So when you say different type, first is your universal speculum. It has a screw like this and these are the two ends for the lids, right? When you say universal, why it is called universal? You can use it on both the sides, both eyes, either eyes, okay? There isn't any guard, you can see that, and therefore eyelashes sometimes come in the field of the operation. And because it's heavy, we avoid it using in any intraocular surgery. Mainly for the extraocular procedures, we use this speculum. Here, this is a guarded and we need two different for the two eyes. So this one is not universal and you can't use it in either eye, right? When it is guarded, now the eyelashes can be put away from the surgical site. But again, it is heavy and it will give, and there's a lot of pressure on the globe and therefore we avoided intraocular surgeries. This is the wire speculum. You can use it on either side and this has exerting less pressure and we use it mainly for intraocular procedures. See, so wire speculum, see, this can be a closed loop, it can be an open loop or it can be a solid plate. These are the three types you should know. There are some details in the uses. I've kept it in the PPTs if you want to go through it, but from my side, this much is enough. Okay, so this one is called Baracker eye speculum. This is Kratz Baracker, which is the open one. Okay. We next talk about, of course, uses all different types of intraocular and extraocular procedures. You can use the speculum. We next talk about, have a look at this one first. This is how, what it is showing is using this wire speculum for the intraocular procedures. And yes, just be familiar with the different names. This one is with the guard. You know this. Now, this is called a Castroviejo-ISO. So just know this. Liberman is this one with the squarish and this is the William. Don't learn it at all. Just have a look at it. Just you know there are three types of speculum. That is enough. We come to the forceps. When you say forceps, starting with cataract surgery, you have to hold the superior rectus, put the suture, pull it down so that the eye is in a downward gaze, and we can nicely see when you're opening the eye, there is a nice view, right? So this is what is called bridle suture, and we do it with the superior rectus forceps. Okay? So superior rectus forceps has an S-shaped curvature at its end. It is stout and there are 1 or 2 teeth here. Okay? So how are we using it? So see, this one is your superior rectus forceps, and how we are trying to catch hold of this superior rectus, and after that we are going to pass the bridle suture. Okay, so mainly these are passing the stay sutures or bridle sutures. Okay, now when you are doing that, since it's a tooth one, there can be bleeding and there can be redness after the surgery. To avoid that, this is the new one, Hoffmann-Thornton glow fixation suture. So Hoffmann-Thornton glow fixation suture is, the main benefit is more stabilization with less harm to the adjoining tissues and therefore hardly any redness post-operatively. Okay, so see, this is how it is being used, right? And can you guess what is this instrument? What is this? Okay, we'll be coming to it. This is the keratome, which is used to enter the anterior chamber. Anyway, we'll talk about it. That was one. Second ho gaya this one, and then we come to the third one is what type of forceps we are talking about is suture tying forceps, right? Of course, it's a plane, but there can be an additional plate here which helps in. So it can be straight or curved with fine limbs. Okay. To hold the suture ends and tighten it. Main is this only. Or to hold the cut ends of the suture during its removal. When you are cutting the suture, you have to remove it. So you have to hold the suture. So suture tying forceps is used for all this. What is the next one? McPherson's. McPherson's forceps is toothless, medium-sized and generally with an angulation. So we generally use with the ones with that is the angulation from the tip is around 7 to 8 millimeters from the tip. Okay. So this angulated plain forceps, but it's not tooth. It is toothless. What is McPherson's used for? By holding the capsule or intraocular lens. First, of course, I have to implant the PMMA lens. I hold it with a McPherson's forceps into the posterior chamber. Then, of course, anterior capsule comes as a second point. A loose anterior capsule after completion of capsulotomy. So, you have done the capsulotomy. So, whatever capsule part is all cut, you have to take it out. We generally prefer a McPherson's forceps for that. So, McPherson's for you, what you have to learn? Hold the intraocular lens and put it into the eye. This much is enough. Of course, we can also use it to tie the 10-09. Take it, 10-09. That was McPherson's. We come to capsule rectus forceps, which we call Utrata forceps. And Utrata forceps has a tooth bent at the end, you can say, right? So, it's a fine with a sharp bent, not tooth, it's bent at the tip. So, this is mainly used for capsulorhexis, for performing the CCC. See? Okay, we come to the next is, of course, epilation forceps. So, when you say epilation, we know we are talking about trichiasis, dysdichiasis and so on, where you have to remove the eyelashes. So, this is your epilation forceps. When you say epilation, can you see it's a small stout forceps with blunt, flat ends. So, it's a blunt, flat ends. Okay, we'll see this also. You should also know about the Pierce-Hosken forceps, which is just has a notch tip to hold delicate tissues, and it is less traumatic. Okay, so can you see this notch tip here? Right. Artery, we all know artery. It has these serrations. It can be straight or curved. This is one end, and catch at the other end. Right? For hemostasis, sometimes you're putting the suture, so it's such a very, very thin 10-0, 9-0, it means lost, na? So sometimes we fix the suture there with the towel and with the artery only, right? So this is how we use, or of course, a hemostasis for DCR surgeries mainly, or dacrocystectomy. Don't mug it up, just have a look at it, what can be the different indications. But yes, this is the most important one, is this which is commonly used, apart from the DCR. So 1 and 2, just read it nice. All are correct, but you don't have to mug it up. You should just know it. That's what I mean. Okay, we talk about, you all know what is a sponge holding forceps. Just to complete the list, this is another one. And of course, arrugas. Arrugas has this type of cup at the end, and we all know it is mainly used for intracapsular cataract extraction, right? Cystitome. This is again used for creating a capsular excess, or when you are cutting the capsulotome, that's what it's called, a capsulotome. So capsular excess, you have to make a nick and you have to just lift the flap and you have to tear it like this. So if you attach this 26 gauge needle, bent its tip, cut it and bent it like this. When you bend it, it's like a capsulotome, and you can do the whole capsular excess through it, right? So the capsule is cut with the bent tip of the needle in CCC fashion, that is capsular excess. Or can opener technique, you can use it also for multiple punctures in the can opener technique. So you should be very familiar and must be very, very thorough about the steps of the cataract surgery. Then only you will understand this lecture better. Okay, so that was about the forceps. We come to the blades. What are the blades we have to use? What do we mean by crescent knife? So crescent is mainly for scleral tunnel formation when you are dissecting. The main use of crescent. So can you see there is a crescent shaped blade here? This is blunt tip and this is of course the polycarbonate handle, right? And the angulation here is about 45 degrees. Now, mainly for, as I just told you, sclerocorneal tunnel in manual SICS or in phacoemulsification as well you can use. Second use can be in the lamellar dissection and lamellar keratoplasties. Now, how do you use it is here with you in front of you. So, this is how we are making a scleral tunnel for the cataract surgery, and this is your crescent. Okay, so this is one blade, that is crescent. What is this? I just told you this is a keratome, triangular blade with again the same angulation of 45 degrees, right? And of course, this is used to enter the anterior chamber during cataract surgery. Now, what is this bad form and good form? You don't have to go put the whole instrument inside like this to puncture and enter the anterior chamber. It should only be up to this triangular part, this much, as is shown in this slide. Don't put too much of the instrument inside this anterior chamber. Anyway, this is more for the PG learning, but here this is your keratome and this is what we use it for. So, next comes your NVR or VLAS blades. What is this? This is mainly for creating side port at the limbus. Side ports are important? Yes. When you are starting with the phaco, you first make the two side ports. We have to inject the visco from it. We have to do the capsular excess through the side port. And we have to do some manipulations during phacoemulsification through the side port. So, side port is absolutely very important and is the first step. Okay, so this is one way we can do it, right? Anterior chamber into the, either in the SICS or in phacoemulsification, right? Again, this is the side port being made here in this slide. And another VLAS blade ke alawa, you can have this side port blades like this, okay, for the same purpose, right? So, of course, one more indication you should not forget is sometimes we need to put a trypan blue dye into the anterior chamber to stain the capsule. Okay. Then comes your, what is this handle? Bart-Parker handle. Bart-Parker handle, of course, you know, we will attach either 11 number or 15 number blade into this. Generally used for skin incisions in DCR, trabeculectomy operation, periosteum incision in DCR and so on. Right? Okay. Even in dissecting the pterygium head from the cornea, at the cornea when you are dissecting the pterygium head, we generally use this. So, this is how you are just putting it. This is your 11 number blade. We all know this, and this is the 15 number blade. And this is the 11 number blade. This is the Bart-Parker handle. This one. This is the handle. BP handle. We call it BP handle in short. Okay, we come to thermocautery. Of course, we all know what cautery is used for. You just heat this metallic ball, right? And then you can cauterize any bleeders, especially in, suppose you have to cauterize the superficial bleeding during any surgery when you're dissecting the conjunctiva and the Tennant's capsule over the bare sclera, even in pterygium, right? Making any flap, after making a conjunctival flap in cataract or glaucoma surgery. So, you want to avoid bleeding, so you use this cautery. You can use electric cautery as well, or you generally can go for thermocautery. Okay. So, we can also cauterize some margin of the progressive ulcers or small iris prolapse, right? You don't want to, generally when the part of the iris is out of the anterior chamber, keep in mind we don't want to put it inside. It can become a source of infection. You have to cut it there, cauterize and put it inside like this. Okay. We don't put the whole iris into it, the anterior chamber, because that becomes a source of infection. Right. What is this? Of course, once you have put the intraocular lens, you want to dial it. To position it, this is a dialer. We call it Sinskey hook. Right? So, generally to dial the intraocular lens for the purpose of centration and bringing the IOL haptics in the horizontal position. Right. Now, it may be used in the left hand side port to create care for the left hand instrument to rotate the lens nucleus, to crack the lens nucleus after the quadrant, after trenching, you want to crack it, you can use that. Your Sinskey hook. Okay, we go back to after phaco, we are again back to ICCE. What is this? This is a wire vectis. We all know there is a wire vectis method. Indian Smith method was pressure counter pressure. One was your cryo extraction. One is Aruga's forceps. You just saw the forceps extraction by Aruga's. You saw Aruga's forceps. Now this one is your wire vectis. Okay. Yeah. Then we talk about next is irrigating vectis. Now this is mainly used, irrigating, it has ports here, right? Openings here, and it is attached to this. You're fitted with a needle base, isn't it? There is a needle base here. And of course, you will fit this with the irrigation system. So the water is coming out and it helps to extract the nucleus in case of small incision cataract surgeries, right? So for nuclear extraction, so this is connected to the tubing system and you have to for nucleus delivery. Remember this. This is of course iris repositor, right? So both edges and tips are flat and of course to reposit while during the surgery when the iris is disturbed coming out, you can reposit it, reposition it, right? Then we talk about two-way irrigation, IA cannula, we call it IA or Simcoe. We are irrigating and at the same time we are aspirating, right? So while we are aspirating for cortical matter, we are aspirating and removing all the cortical matter sticking to the capsule. Right, so simultaneous irrigation and aspiration for cortical materials, right, in all these surgeries. And of course, at the end, you have to remove the viscoelastic. We know if we don't remove the viscoelastic, it is going to actually block the trabecular meshwork. So, for removing the viscoelastic material after IOL insertion, and it may also be used to remove blood in hyphema, right? Yes. Okay, we come to scissors here. What is this one? It's a Venn scissor. What is a Venn scissor? It's a small scissor with a spring action like this. It can be curved, it can be straight. To prepare the conjunctival flap, you need a small, you don't need with the longer blades, right? Number one. To cut the 10-0 during cataract or keratoplasty. To cut the trabecular flap in trabeculectomy. And anterior capsule tags in. Whenever you have to cut the anterior capsule, generally prefer the Vennas. Okay. Right. And of course, also to cut the vitreous in the open sky vitrectomy, right? When it's all open and you have to cut the vitreous, then this is also done with Vennas. Right. And in different types of iridectomy, also just remember we have to use this Vennas. Don't mug it up, just giving you some indications. So, iska aasan bata dete hain. Generally, intraocular or conjunctival flaps, we are using this Vennas. Conjunctival flap also because the blades are little short. Okay, this is how we are cutting here in iridectomy. And then, of course, the cornea, what is this? Mainly in case of your ECC, once you have made a partial thickness cut with a 15 number blade, you have to cut the corneoscleral at the limbus. This is done with this corneoscleral scissors, right? So, this is to enlarge the corneoscleral incision after conventional ECC and ICC. We use the corneoscleral scissors. Right? And of course, enlarging the corneal incisions in keratoplasty and so on. So, here it will have a little longer blades. Again, Westcott scissors, just know that there is a spring action in this. Again, uses are almost the same. That is your conjunctival dissection, incising the cornea, sclera and so on. Calipers. Very important, we use calipers to see what distance from the limbus. At your level, what have I discussed? 3 to 3.5 millimeter from the limbus. Then you enter then to incite into the vitreous cavity for any intravitreal injections for pars plana vitrectomy. Because pars plana is at that distance, right? That was one indication. So, this is how you measure. Of course, while you're doing it, you get so used to, you know, which is 3.5 and 4 millimeters. But yes, you should know this, that this is what is Castroviejo calipers, right? So, if you keep moving this screw, you're moving, that the needle is, this is more separating where you can actually put the two pointers. This is the one. है ना? Caliper, this is the scale. You can see it. This is the scale and these are the two ends. Where whatever you have to measure, you have to move it with this screw. Okay, I'll be showing you this. Then to measure for any purpose like size of cornea and the various surgeries, we all know that. Even in case of SICS and small incision cataract surgery, distance from the limbus, sometimes we have to be very accurate. You can use this caliper. This is of course the needle holder to hold the needle for suturing. So this is your Baraka needle holder. Right? This is simple. Any of the suturing, we can use it. These are different indications of suturing. Punctum dilator. You have to do a syringing. Lacrimal punctum has to be first dilated. This is the punctum dilator. Okay? And yes, this is corrugated. The wise body corrugated for better gripping. Just know this. This is enough. Of course, you have to dilate the punctum. Either you have to do a probing or syringing. Then you have to, the first step is this. See, this is how the punctum dilator is being used. And of course, Bowman's probes for probing. We have learned this, that till 9 months it is your massaging. From 9 to 18 months, the best results are probing. Right? What did we learn? What is the direction? How should you push this probe? Into what direction? Along the direction of the ala. That is downwards, laterally and backwards. Isn't it? So, this is how it is being used. This is the Bowman's probe. Okay, this is the Carrison bone punch. We have to cut the lacrimal bone to create a fistula type of thing or connectivity from lacrimal sac to nasal mucosa. So, we are doing it with this instrument, right? So, punch or break these bones, that is lacrimal bone mainly. Generally, mainly the lacrimal part or the lacrimal bone in the medial wall is broken, right? Adjacent to the nasal bone. Anyway, it is written frontal process macula, but generally this much is, you can extend it to that. And see, this is how it is being used. This is your bone punch. And when you are doing the DCR, you have to, it's a, you know, what is most difficult, especially when you're talking about not the laser DCR or the endonasal where you're using your endoscopic, but even the conventional one, external, you made the incision, so much of bleeding, itna sab surgical field, all the time aspiration has to be done. It's a challenge to see the tissue and really do it. So we have done so many. So this is what is cat's paw retractor, which is used so that we can see something, right? Okay, so this is your cat's paw retractor. I'll be showing this again. This is the lacrimal dissector with a scoop, as you can see here, right? So this mainly to dissect the lacrimal sac from its position. That is, after giving the skin incision, right, from the lacrimal fossa, you have to dissect the sac, uplift it. This is done by lacrimal dissector. Know this much. These are rare to be asked to you. Mainly the what has been asked, I don't think in NEET PG last so many years, in FMG, something has been asked like bone punch or Calesian clamp, Calesian scope. Nothing more than that, right? So, we will just know mainly the instruments related to the cataract surgery, Calesian. Yes, you should also know about your lacrimal syringing, punctum dilator and Bowman's. I think iske upar nahi jata hai. But to complete the list, some more important ones, I'm just quickly going through it with you all, right? Like, of course, in strabismus surgery, you want to identify the muscle and separate it from the rest of the globe. We do it with a strabismus hook. Know this much. Then another one is Kelly's punch, where you have to cut the TM during trabeculectomy. This is your Kelly's punch. Okay. Trabeculotome. What is a trabeculotome? It has two arms, very typical, so you will know it. From one arm, that is internally you are threading into the Schenck's canal, by external parallel is used as a guide. Everybody remembers what we had learned about trabeculotomy? Cutting the Schenck's canal and the trabecular meshwork. Cut in the Schenck's canal and trabecular meshwork. Right? Yeah. Okay. Then we talk about the corneal markers which are used in keratoplasty so that the suturing, you know where you have to suture it. So this is what is a corneal marker used for optimal placement of sutures in keratoplasty. Okay. Of course, this is the trephine to cut the donor or recipient cornea. This one, right? First you have to trephine it and then you cut it like this along. You know? So this is for recipient and donor cornea. Corneal button. Okay. This was the cat's paw retractor I was talking about. Here it is. So, mainly used for lacrimal sac surgeries. right? For any plastic operations, you can use it for the eyelids as well. And of course, when you're talking about eyelids, just know that this is an entropion clamp, okay, which is used. Again, it has one is the plate and there is a ring, right? And what is very important to just know this much, I don't think they have asked you ever, but yes, know this. Of course, for the right and left, you need different clamps. Same clamp cannot be used in both eyes, okay? Yeah. So this is what is entropion clamp used for entropion surgeries. Okay. Next, of course, this is if they ask you, this is the lid spatula for the lid surgeries. This much is enough. Again, Geiger's lid spatula, right? So, for various lid surgeries, again, you can use it because when you use entropion clamp, mainly the field becomes little lesser. So, you may not want to use it all the time. But for other lid surgeries like ptosis, entropion and all, you can go for lid spatula to hold and fix the lid where you have to operate. Okay, and of course, Desmarais retractor to retract the lid for examining in any uncooperative child or you want to find out some foreign body. So, this is what is Desmarais retractor. And even for the double eversion of lid also it helps. Okay, so once we have discussed the PPTs and we have the idea what are the different surgical instruments, that of course you have to know at your level. Maybe I have told little more than that. But now at the end, as I told you, we will be quickly looking at few of them, not all the instruments, a few of them and try to guess what they are, right? So it will be more like an exercise to revise, right? So let's start. Okay, so which blade was this? Yes, we used it in forming the scleral tunnel. I think now you can guess it. Yes, this is the crescent. Okay, what is this? Black in color at the tip. Of course, this is the heat cautery. As I showed you how we heat it in the flame and with the heat cautery, we cauterize these bleeding blood vessels. Of course, we can use the bipolar cautery as well, but this one is the heat cautery. Okay, so what is this? This is the Baracker needle holder. With this, we are holding the needle and this is used for suturing the section, right? Look at this one. Two flat ends like this. Yes, this is the iris repositor. You have studied with me. To reposit the iris if it is coming out of the section, we use this instrument. Okay, which speculum is this one? Yes, this is the universal which you can use in both the eyes, right? And this is how we are moving the screw, and when you move the screw, it goes apart and it opens the eyes properly for the better visualization, right? It doesn't have a guard, so of course the eyelashes can interfere. We have learned this. And this design is the Lieberman type. And look at this one. Of course, we all know this is the wire speculum. It's lighter in weight, so for all intraocular procedures, we will prefer this one. What is this? We all can see this is a caliper to measure the distance. Especially I have told you, when you are looking at where is the pars plana from the limbus, we can measure through this. This is the scale in front of you. So this is the Castroviejo caliper. So what is this? Back to our ICCE. Yes, we are talking about wire vectors. This is one of the methods to do the intracapsular cataract extraction. Can you see that? We can just scoop out through the wire vectors. Which scissors is this? Yes, this is your corneoscleral scissors, which we use for the corneoscleral incision in ECC, right? And look at this one. Yes, it is angulated with the spring action, shorter blades. This is your Venas scissor. Where do we use it? We have learned this in cutting the capsule, right? Maybe in iridectomy, sometimes even making conjunctival flaps. You have learned all this with me. So it can be straight or angulated. This one was angulated. Okay, so you just learned with me about the wire vectors. But what is this one? This is the irrigating vectors, right? Can you see? The tip has got the opening from where the water is coming out, goes through this. Syringe is attached here, and this is how, or a cannula can be attached in, and we can just express the nucleus during small incision cataract surgery. And when we are talking about irrigation vectors, we should also know this is the IA cannula, irrigation aspiration cannula, where we are aspirating the cortical matter during the cataract surgery, right? So now let's talk about few forceps. Can you guess which one is this? Can you see the S shape? And at the end there is a tooth. Yes, this is how we hold the superior rectus and put the brittle suture to fix the eyeball. And if you look at this forceps, it's angulated, but of course it is smooth. There is no tooth at the tip. This is McPherson. We are holding the intraocular lens and implanting through with McPherson's. It can also be used as a tying suture. We have learned this already. And look at this one. It is angulated and the tip, there is a bend, right? This one is Utrata. That is a capsulotomy forceps, right? So do the capsulotomy. So you can hold this through this forceps, you hold the capsule, which helps in making the CCC. That can be another method. And what about this one? Can you see the extra plates at the tip? It is a smooth, stout forceps. This is the epilation forceps, which we are using for trichiasis or disc trichiasis. And what is this? So once you are holding the lens, putting inside the bag through McPherson's, this is the dialer through which you are putting it fixing it in the dialing holes of the IOL and helping to place the IOL, align it in a proper position. So this is the dialer. Look at this one. I think this is very easy. What is this? This is the punctum dilator. Nettleship punctum dilator. You're dilating the lacrimal punctum before syringing or probing. And of course, what is this? These are the Bowman probes through which we are doing the lacrimal probing, right? They can come in different sizes. Okay, so that was just a little small exercise to revise what instrument is which. Of course, you should also have a look at different types of blades, which you will in your future. And if you're missing your Calagione clamp and Calagione scoop, that's very, very simple. Have a look, you'll always find it, right? So this was short discussion from my side. Hope you enjoyed this session. Thank you so much. Stay blessed. Keep smiling.